So first project I absolutely love, but I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be using Kraken. Yes, it's green. I never use green if I can avoid it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts, and I hope you're doing okay. A few weeks ago, I tried Silkscreens on Eco. I got quite addicted, I must admit, and I really want to put them into resin. So I'm going to try some Silkscreening on resin with some amazing bright colours and a absolutely cheap, gorgeous mould. Spoiler alert, I've already made them and I love them. So this is the mould that I'm using, and this is the Silkscreen. I bought this from Amazon. I will put the Amazon link in the description box below, together with all the links for everything I use. The Temu link won't actually be a link, it will be a Temu number. Their links are massive, but the Temu number you can put into the Temu search bar and find the item. And I think that's a better way of doing it, to be honest. This Silkscreen is absolutely stunning. I was expecting more than one Silkscreen in the pack, to be fair. It wasn't cheap, but it is beautiful. I'm going to cut out the picture to fit the middle of the mould. Now I've measured it and it's 15 centimetres. So I need to draw a 15 centimetre circle on the Silkscreen so that I can cut it out. I'm using a compass to do that with. I've measured it to 7.5 centimetres, so it should give me a 15 centimetre radius, and I've figured out which part of the picture I want to keep. It's a shame I've got to cut this Silkscreen up because it is absolutely stunning, but I will use this circle that I'm cutting out in several projects, hopefully. So it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. When I'm happy I've got my circle in exactly the right place, then I can cut it out. Once it's all cut out, I'm going to keep the offcuts because I might use those in a different project at some point. I don't like discarding things when I think I could use them. And I'm going to detach the Silkscreen from the backing and hopefully get it in the centre of the inside of the bowl mould. It's a little tricky, but I do want it as centred as possible and nice and flat, stuck to the bottom of the bowl mould. And I do want to make sure it is completely stuck down. No lips, no sticky up bits, completely stuck to the silicone mould. So when I'm happy that it's completely stuck, I'm going to get out some colours. Now I'm using some of Emma's The Tiny Turners colours. These are available on toonpish.com. Nature, Ether, Arcane, Nether, Aurora, Starlight, Dark Matter. They are stunning colours. They're not cheap, but boy are they gorgeous, and I absolutely love using them. And I am Emma's designated supplier for resin craft, and I'm very proud to sell her products. Now this colour is Nether. It's really vibrant blue purple. These colours are chameleon colours, so they have different shifts. This one is quite a purple blue shift. Now I thought I would use a long paintbrush. I figured that would get into the areas that I needed to in these Silkscreens. However, I don't think it was pushing the mica down into the area enough, so I swapped it out for a flatter, more bristly brush that would pick up a little bit more mica, and I had a bit more push in it because it's a stiffer brush. I think that worked a lot better than a long, thin brush. So I'm going to colour this entire Silkscreen in different colours. Now, I did actually put Arcane down as one of the colours, and I took that out because I thought it was not right for the project. So I didn't use Arcane, even though it was in my little list. Now, you know I don't like green. I'm really not a green fan. However, on this occasion, I did get out 2 greens because I thought that the green foliage needed green. Couldn't really get away from the fact that outside it's green and leaves are green and stems are green. So I am putting a fair bit of green in here. And there's also quite a few green birds, but we're ignoring that fact. That is where I decided that, oh, I'm not going to use Arcane, and I went on to the ethereal pigments, also known as ghost pigments. Ghost pigments look completely different on a clear surface or a white surface than they do with a black surface or black behind them. And they can be absolutely stunningly bright with black behind them. It can be quite difficult to figure out what colour you're using, however, especially when you don't put them on a black surface like this. This is dark matter, and dark matter is a stunning dark blue. I do blow off the excess powder away from the table so that I can see where I'm going, and I don't want any excess powder landing on areas where I don't want them. With a multitude of greens, I'm doing the leaves on the other side of the picture, and I just go around and have a lot of fun colouring in these pieces. The biggest bugbear I have is a chameleon red. Chameleon reds are pretty much non-existent, so you can get bright colour reds in micas and in liquid form, but chameleon reds are pretty much non-existent, and I would love a chameleon red. But you can get really stunning red foil. It's just the chameleons that are lacking. Maybe one day somebody will come out with one, and I think it'll go very well indeed. Emma does have the blood magic in the range, but for me that is more brown than red. It's just the red that is missing. And I decided to have a good clean up of the mould inside because I felt sure I was blowing excess into the interior of the mould. Now I'm going to take off the silkscreen and see what my colouring has produced. And I think it is absolutely stunning. This picture is beautiful. I do love hummingbirds. Now I'm going to colour the rest of the mould, and to do that I'm going to use Eclipse. Eclipse is an ethereal blue, also known as ghost blue, with a slight pink and a little bit of turquoise. And I figured it would make an amazing backdrop for these greens, golds and purples. Now I don't want to disturb the colour that I've already put on the mould for the picture, so I am patting the blue very lightly on top to attach itself to the mould, but it shouldn't disrupt the colours that are already on there. Whatever colour hits the mould first is the colour that you'll see, so going over the top of a colour is not going to make any difference whatsoever. The brush I'm using is extremely light and very fluffy, and I want to make sure I don't miss anywhere. I want the cover to be completely saturating this mould, and I pick it up to make sure I have not missed any areas at all. Now, if I'd have thought about this previously to actually starting it, I could have coloured the inside of the mould in Eclipse before I'd put the picture on, and I think that would have been a good call, to be honest, because I was absolutely petrified of turning this mould inside out to colour the inside of the lip and the base and the whole of the inside. I thought I would destroy the picture that I've already put on the top. Now, I could have gone back and redone it, cleaned off the top and redone it again, but I didn't want to do that. But I did want colour inside the mould. Eventually, I got there and I felt that I'd completely coloured the inside of the mould sufficiently enough to start pouring resin. The resin I'm going to use is Let's Resin Black Epoxy Resin. Now I do pour a lot of black resin, and it is very handy to have a colour already mixed into a resin. So all I've got to do is to put it in the 40-second stirrer and mix the two together. Now with any mixer, you still do need to scrape the sides and the bottom, because unmixed resin will be in those areas and you want to mix everything. So just give the sides a bit of a scrape and the bottom, give it a bit of a stir to mix in the unmixed resin, and you're good to go. Now I had no clue how much resin I needed to mix, but I figured it was around 2 cups. 1 cup part A, 1 cup part B, and to my surprise it was pretty much exact. It worked very well. Now I wanted to dislodge any air that may have got trapped in the lip or down the bottom of the mould. I did not want to go scraping the sides with a stick because I've coloured it really nicely with a blue mica. So I banged it and bashed it around a little bit. I did use the wire to go under the lip in case there was any stuck air under there. Other than that, I sprayed it with isopropyl alcohol and left it to cure on my workbench overnight. The following day I could demold, and I do love demolding day. I have kept some sounds in for you to listen to, although there isn't that many, but I did find it a little difficult to find an opening. There is a lot to be said for fingernails, and I don't have any, but I did eventually find a little opening, and then I could demold quite happily. I must admit, looking through the mould, I really like the picture that I can see. And I'm hoping that when I demold, it's going to look even better. The mould eventually came away and left my bowl absolutely beautifully, and the mould itself was fine. You do wonder when you buy inexpensive moulds whether they're going to hold up. This one I do recommend. This came out exactly how I was wanting it to. If only I could have had some chameleon reds in there too. It's a gorgeous, deep shaped bowl. The colours are stunning. The picture in the bottom is a very subtle light shade, but that eclipse is absolutely gorgeous, and I think it works really well, and I am over the moon with this. So first project I absolutely love, but I want to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be using Kraken. Yes, it's green. I never use green if I can avoid it, but you know, I figured I should use green because a lot of people love green. So as Kraken is rather a dark green, more of a forest or emerald, I don't mind emerald. I really don't. I figured I would use Kraken on the inside of this bowl. So the first thing I'm doing, as I learnt from the first time, is to colour the inside first. I was going to leave the base free so I could put my picture there after I'd coloured the inside, if you catch my drift. Now as I went round colouring, I decided that I would completely cover the whole of the inside of the bowl, top, bottom, sides, everything in Kraken. And I didn't realise how blue Kraken is. Purple, blue, green. I mean, that was a big surprise really. And yes, I got quite messy in the process. Again, I've mixed up the resin. I've made just over 2 cups this time, just to give me a little bit more on the base. I'm pouring it extremely slowly so that I don't increase the chances of bubbles in the resin. This resin has been put through the degasser. Although it's black and you're not going to see any bubbles that are in it, I decided to put it through the degasser to increase the chances of no bubbles. I squirted it with isopropyl alcohol and I left it to cure. And yes, there's no picture on it. No picture at all. But the following day, I can demold. I just love this bowl mould. Regardless of anything else, this mould is absolutely gorgeous. The bowl is huge. It's sturdy. It's a beautiful shape. It's one of those purchases that I am happy, really happy to have bought. And I am so surprised at this kraken. Yes, it's green, but I had no clue it was purple and blue as well. I should really use this more often. I'm absolutely blown away by this. In some directions you cannot even see the green. Okay, lesson learned. I won't ignore green anymore, I promise. So you're probably thinking, well, where does the silkscreen come in then, Wendy? You've already made the bowl. I'm going to put the silkscreen in the bottom of the bowl, trying really hard to get it in the centre, which is not as easy as you think it would be, especially when you're kind of filming an angle and behind the camera, so you can't necessarily see what's going on directly from above. Mr. Goodness. You need to get in the middle. In the middle, please. I will get it in the middle. I need to look right over the top of it, that's the trouble. I have cleaned this silkscreen. They're so easy to clean. You can put them under a tap with a little bit of soapy water, dry them off, and they're still sticky. And I really like that about them. You can use them over and over. So once I'm happy that it is completely centred, I am going to get out some metal size glue. You've probably seen me use this on several occasions. I think it is an amazing product. It is really thin. It goes completely clear when it dries after about 40 minutes, and it stays sticky. And because it stays sticky, you can use it to embellish your pieces. So I am doing a really thin coat of metal size glue over the top of the silkscreen. Now you can stick pretty much anything to metal size glue. Glitter, mica, foils, and it will come out really well. When I'm happy that it is completely covered, before it's dried, I take the silkscreen off, I give the silkscreen a good wash, and I let that dry and go clear for about 40 minutes. So now I need to embellish it, and I'm going to use starlight. You could use foils on this. Foils would work really well. I debated what colour would go with green. Now I don't use green very often, so I was in a bit of a unusual place for me. What colour goes with green? I did think silver would go really well, but I've decided to go with a gold starlight, which is a light orange gold. That's the best way I can describe it, I think. It's more of a rose gold, I would say. I'm not really a gold person, and I'm not finding the words to describe it, but hopefully you can see what it is. But I figured that it would go really well with green. So I just liberally go over the top of the picture with the starlight. I blow off the excess, and I need to get rid of all the powder in there that is excess to the picture. So I take a clean, dry, lint-free cloth and I wipe it over off camera. I'm then going to fill the base with clear resin. The mica picture will then be completely sealed in. It will not get scratched, it will not come off. Now gilding glue does secure your colours, but I figured in the base of a bowl it's going to need a little extra, so I just gave it a clear coat. The following day I have an amazing, gorgeous, very shiny, very green and blue bowl. And as I said, I absolutely love these. I put cork on the bottom of both of them and I engraved it with my logo. And both of these bowls are now being used in my home because there's no way these are going to anyone else. I absolutely adore them. I love the size of the bowl. The high sides, the shape and the width are just brilliant for me. And because they only took 2 cups of resin, 1 part A, 1 part B, 2 cups of resin was quite inexpensive to fill and make these bowls. The pictures in the bottom just add to the bowls themselves. The colours are stunning. Even the green, yes, I've said it, even the green I absolutely love because most of the time I see the blue. But I've really enjoyed making these and I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and I hope you've got something out of it, even if it's just some inspiration to go and have a go yourself. These were so much fun. Don't forget, if you've enjoyed watching this video, pop that like button. It'll help YouTube know that you've enjoyed the content and will push it out so others get a chance to see it, and hopefully I can inspire more people. Thanks so much for watching this video. Come back and see me next week because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting and bye for now.